What does it taste like? Well, let's have a look. Very nice, very sweet, but very nice. That is really tasty. Today I'm going to be showing you a traditional British recipe which used to be baked quite a lot, but these days doesn't seem to be. It's Bakewell Tart. So I'm using Mrs. Beaton's recipe, and this is a recipe from her cookbook, Mrs. Beaton's Cookery Book. Now this edition isn't a first edition, oh good lord no, they're too expensive. But this one was published in 1929, awarded to somebody called Emil Alston in 1931. So I'm going to be using the recipe from this book. So I'll tell you a little bit about it as we go, but at the moment what I'm going to be doing is, if you remember at Christmas there, I made a recipe for mince pies, and the shortcrust pastry I used then is what I'm going to be using now. So I'm just going to, if you want to catch that recipe, I'll link it below. I checked and Mrs. Beaton's got the same recipe that I use, so okay. There's my flour gone in. That's 8 ounces of self-raising flour, and to that I'm going to be adding 1 ounce of sugar, and I've also put a pinch of salt in there, so that's going in as well. 2 ounces of butter going in, cubed. Make sure it's nice and cold, everybody. 1 ounce of lard. If you want to use Trex, that's fine. If you want to use all plant-based spreads, that's fine. 2 ounces of block margarine. I'm doing this by food processor, as you can tell, and we're going to pulse this for a minute or two, she says. Hopefully. Oh, make sure it's on. Very old processor this, I have to say. We just want it to be breadcrumb consistency. If you don't want to make yours like this, that's fine, do it by hand. Okay, once it's breadcrumb consistency, which this looks to be, we're going to be adding the yolk of an egg. So 1 large egg, and we want the yolk. Ooh, maybe not there. I'm just doing the shell to shell method. You do it whichever way you want. You can freeze the whites if that's any help to anybody. I know this is terrible, but I'm going to be binning it today, I've got to be honest. So that's one egg yolk gone in. And you need a little bit of milk as well. I'm going to pulse this in. This makes a lovely rich pastry, I have to say. And I'm going to pop in a little bit of milk. So a little bit, and then see how it is. I'm going to put it on all the time now, just on slow, and let it do its thing. That's about 1 measure gone in. Might need to put a bit more in, which I do. I can see it. I do. These are your standard alcohol measures. I don't know what they are. I've got to be honest. I'm sorry, got some more this. So you just need to add milk until it comes together. And I find as soon as it gets clumpy like it is now, you just switch it on high. And hope for the best, because my machine breaks down quite a bit. It's old, like me. It'll come together nicely. And as soon as you've got it all together, it's time to tip it out into a piece of cling film. Behind me. Gosh, I'm organised, would you ever? And we're going to let this rest in the fridge for about half an hour while we do the next. While we do the next part of our recipe. So we're gonna pop it in, pop it into the middle, and give it a wrap. Press it down, I want this a nice round shape really, so I'm going to set it off now while I've got the chance, because oh my gosh, I hate rolling pastry. Right, that's going into the fridge for a minimum of half an hour. I've got my pastry in the fridge at the moment, and while that's in the fridge, I've put my oven on to warm up. I'll put the electric conversions here now for you. I've weighed out into my bowl 2 ounces of butter and 2 ounces of caster sugar. I would generally do this by food mixer, but it's not enough really, let's be fair, so by hand it is, wooden spoon in hand. So we're going to cream these items together, and while I'm creaming these items together, I just want to tell you a little bit about Bakewell Tart as it is. Bakewell Tart originated, as everybody probably knows, in the little town of Bakewell in Derbyshire. Now this is a story of how it goes. It's not necessarily the correct way it went, because as with everything, when there's something that is quite popular, it takes on a new life, doesn't it? And we get all kinds of stories. This is the story that I've heard. The landlady of the White Horse Inn asked a cook to do a particular recipe. The cook got it wrong, as with everything like eating mess and all the rest of it. Ended up, instead of mixing almond paste and jam together, did it in separate layers, making a Bakewell pudding. It was a very popular pudding at the time, and everybody enjoyed it so much that it became famous. And then it wasn't until about the 1900s that it actually took on another life as a tart. It's like making a sponge cake. Working muscles. And have a rest, because I'm shattered. And what we're going to do now is add a little bit of vanilla extract. You don't need a lot, about 1/4 teaspoon maybe. It's very strong stuff this, so go easy. Pop that in. Once that's beaten in, what we're going to add is an egg. So 1 egg. This is going to cause it to fluff up nicely. So we're going to beat that egg before we put it in with a spoon. Here it is. And then we're going to gradually add it with 2 ounces of ground almonds. A little bit of that and a little bit of that. A bit like making a cake. And whisk it in or beat it in or whatever you're doing with it. And again, last of the egg, last of the almonds, and get it incorporated. Totally incorporated. Pop it to one side for a moment while we roll out our pastry. So this is my pastry from earlier. What I'm going to do with it is cut it more or less in half, because we're only needing half of it. Now then, if you've seen me roll out anything before, as in like my apple pie, I'll link that below for you, you'll understand why I'm a bit reticent about this bit. I'm going to sprinkle a bit. I'm using baking parchment just because it's easier to transfer an item from baking parchment than it is to transfer it from a table. So I have flour at the ready, and we're going to roll it out to the size of a greased pie dish, and this is my greased pie dish. So it's about 8 inches in the bottom, but along the edges we're looking at 9 inches. So hold your breath, don't hold your breath, this might be a long chore. Okay, so I'm just going to go gradually. Everybody's got their own way of doing this. As you can see, I'm not a master pastry person. I get by. I'm a home cook after all, nothing else. The good thing about Bakewell Tart is that you don't have to blind bake. Now, if you do break the pastry and you need to repair it, I wouldn't worry. Nobody's going to see it. That's me preparing you for later when it goes wrong. Okay, that looks about right to me. So in comes the pie dish. pray for me. I'm going to do it probably the worst way you possibly can, but hey ho. And over it goes. There we go. And then, ooh. See what we can do. Ooh. There we go. Now then, just push it in to the edges. And you'll have bits that overlap and so forth. Now those are the bits which I'll show you now how to deal with the bits that you haven't quite got it into. So bear with a moment. I'm going to take a knife and cut these bits off. So, my mum used to do this, you know. It's been gone a long time, I'm afraid, guys. Now then, these bits here that you've chopped off, all you need to do is just press them out and pop them on the edge where it's a bit short. So, and it'll automatically just blend in. There you go. And just pop along until you've got it right at the edge. And there is your pie dish. I'll just show you pie crust. Now I'm going to pop that in the fridge until I'm ready for it. About 10 minutes should sort it out. My lined pie dish has been in the fridge now for about 10-15 minutes. I'm now going to spread it with a raspberry conserve. You can use any jam that you want, really. The recipe states though to use quite a substantial amount. It says use a generous portion. So generous it is. And you have to spread it out all over the base of your pie dish. There we go. Nice even layer of said raspberry jam, that's that. And on top of that, we're going to put our almond mixture. So I'm going to start off by dolloping it because it's going to be a divil to spread, I would imagine. Do a few dollops and then we'll spread. Yeah, it doesn't seem to get made as much these days. Maybe because of the almond extract in it, I don't know. So spread it out as best you can across the top. It's said that the average size of one of these, or rather the usual size of one of these pies, would have been around about 8 to 9 inches, no more. Anymore, and it's not a Bakewell Tart seemingly. And just for decoration, I've got a few almonds, flaked almonds here that I'm going to pop on the top. So just scatter them around. That's going to go in an oven for half an hour. So I'll be back with you when that's done. This is my Bakewell Tart, or rather an old Bakewell Tart from 1930s. I cut off the crust so that it looked a bit more easier. That's the whole point of having a larger crust, that you cut it off to make it look a bit more appetising. So I've cut that off. What does it taste like? Well, let's have a look. Very nice, very sweet, but very nice. That is really tasty. If you want to make it thicker, then double your quantities, especially with the topping. I think the topping in those days was a lot less than what it is now. There you go. You can see a good cross section of it there for you. There you go. There you go. I'm going to have another piece because that was lovely. Really tasty. Very nice. Okay. If you like what I'm doing, hit me up with a thumbs up. It's much appreciated and it does help the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already, and click the notification bell and you'll be notified of any videos that I do coming into your feed on YouTube. Comment, leave a comment down below if you so wish. Tell me where you're from. I like to know when people are from. I've had a few people from Canada recently and a couple from Australia. Well, it's really nice to know. If you make anything that I've made, let me know. Send me a picture. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, you name it, I'm on it. I'm on TikTok as well. That's it for now. Until my next video, Liz out.